I think I also have some gelato cake crumble, if I'm not mistaken. Then I got some. It's gelato cake shatter on top of some cherry pie shatter. That's pretty nice, but that puts me to sleep. That's night time.
Double layer shatter.
Yeah, mix and match sometimes. When I had the dab rig, my favorite thing to do was the peanut butter and jellies. I would get some shatter and like scrape some butter up, and then dab
Yeah.
that little double whammy there.
Yeah, I do that occasionally. Like right now, all I got is like rosin. Like it's like a concentrate shortage in Florida right now. So like
Oh
all
wow.
they have is like the most expensive stuff you can buy. So I got like some sour jack live rosin, then I got some star dog live rosin. I got some papaya cake dry hash rosin, and pretty much it. Like I said, all I got is like, I mean, it's all good stuff, but it's just like I usually have like some variety, like some wax, some crumble, some like all I got is rosin right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Well. Oh, are you gonna get things started now?
Yeah. We're actually live on we're actually live on YouTube. Let me get the link
Oh, that's
first.
excellent. That's very cool.
I learned how to rig the game now. I'm about to give y'all the link, then y'all can post it. Jesus fuck, shut up. Alright. About to post the link, then we'll get started.
So ordered my new bubble cap for this Puffco. Super expensive accessories, but
I told Deontay to get this. It's this Luca Q8 atomizer. It's apparently really nice. I showed him a video for it. It's really cool. We got some at the shop, and I told him he needs to and go ahead and invest in that.
I will. I send it to y'all in the Facebook group.
Okay.
Post it. Social media. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and get started.
Now, before YouTube tries to ban us off of it, I will let you guys know that I am a licensed Maryland medical cannabis patient, dabbing my medicine for educational purposes only.
For educational purposes. All right, everybody. Let's do it.
same what he said, but for Florida.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of PuffcoPolitics. I am your host, LK the God, the deity, the mogul, the shogun, and the O1. And I'm here with some great friends of mine. I'm here with C Jizzle, live from Liberty Sizzle, aka Puffco Poppy, aka braids down his back, looking like hot sauce. What we puffing on today, man?
We're buffing on today. Plenty of stuff. Like I was saying before we went live, all I've got is pretty much rosin today. So on the dab cam, flip it around. I've got papaya cake, dry sif rosin. That's gonna be what I'm dabbing on tonight. But also got like a crescendo distillate pen. I've also got some sour jack live rosin. It's very good from Move Dispensary down here. So you know we got a few different options, but we're feeling good.
All right. And last but not least, we have Dad, Daddy,
Daddy Don, what's good?
Hey!
Do a dab when you see this. I'm dabbing on some crazy shit today. I got all kinds of crumble. Shouts out to District Cannabis. They've really been holding us down at the shop, getting us some real good deals so we can pass it straight on to the consumer. Shop at Jova Wellness. I'm about to do a dab right now.
Hey! Live dab.
Live cam. Let's do a dab before we get started. Unfortunately, this thing takes like 10 seconds to heat up, so y'all can go ahead and get things kicked off.
It's fine. I want to put out a disclaimer. Every marijuana strain you see here is all legal. It's all medicine, and we're all patients. Thank you. So let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, this is PuffcoPolitics. So let's start with what we're doing right now, the revenue that just started, the revolution that just started with marijuana and the money that we getting, the money that the government is getting off of marijuana, where do you see it trending upwards in the next 10 years, the business of marijuana?
I can definitely speak on that a little bit, being a little bit of insider on that. The thing is, especially in Maryland, it's not a scaling thing. So they are taxing the dispensaries and the processors and the growers. They're taxing everybody every step of the way, sure. But it's quarterly and it's a flat rate. So everyone's paying the same amount, which means if you're vertically integrated, so you got your grow up and your own delivery drivers to send to your own dispensaries, and some of your stuff goes to your own processor, and you own all of that stuff, you're only really paying one or two of those flat rates, but you're getting all the revenue from all of those areas. So from even that standpoint, it's not really fair. Just the spread across all the businesses, some people are going to be a little better off than others, but the government isn't really capitalizing the way I thought they were going to. Like, you go to the dispensary right now and you don't even pay sales tax on that medicine. So if they wanted to, they could have put 6% tax on those purchases, and that would have sucked for everybody, really. They could be doing worse. Do I think they're doing okay for right now? No, because they're still taxing like $25K if you want to open a dispensary. That's quarterly. You gotta drop $100,000 a year just to keep the certification on your door. You know, that's wild. Yeah, it's not really gonna get any better as they try to regulate things more and more. In Maryland, they're doing those new edible regulations, and that doesn't really affect anyone but the dispensaries. So just to shed a little light on the situation, Maryland, unless you are specifically certified, and I cannot remember the acronym that you're supposed to be, you cannot sell edibles that are more than 10 milligrams a piece. So all these processors are scrambling to turn their edibles into 10 milligram THC, and then however much CBD they want to throw in is kind of irrelevant, but THC is what they care about, unless you have this certification, which a couple brands just kind of came stock with. And the instant it was available to get, they had it already. Do I think that's a coincidence? No. Does that mean a bunch of people who were making edibles before can't make any edibles right now? Betty's Eddies? Yep. And they were the top dogs. I wonder why this random regulation came into play right when they were winning. They were basically winning the edibles game. And now there's re-regulation. So stuff's happening in real time, guys. People will play dirty in this industry. And yeah, like I said, I don't think it's really the government that's winning out too much until they make it federally legal. Then they'll win out a lot, because then they can tax it on the federal level. But hey, who's thinking like that? Who's thinking money moves like that?
What would a federal level of weed being legal look like? Like, how much tax would they get off of that?
However much it would be, could leave it to the states, and now the state is defining how much each individual is taxed. The main thing would be that it's not a Schedule I drug anymore, so you know it's more readily available, or at least not punishable. You're not going to jail for having it, even as and you know, a lot of states are turning it into misdemeanors or like a fine, $50 or something. Petty slap on the wrist, as long as you're not the one slinging it, but they're still putting you in prison for a number of years if you have a pound on you, which coincidentally is about the amount that you yield if you grow a plant. Go figure. So you're saying you can't grow it, but if you happen to have it, somehow that's cool. Very hypocritical. There's a lot of hypocrites in the industry. So anyone who says that they have any amount of experience growing, right off the bat, you know that's a hypocrite, or that at least that's a criminal, because how would you have experience growing for X amount of years if it's been illegal all this time and now you're profiting on it? It's all that fucked up shit. Just little things like that. All these people coming up and they'll publicize how they did it. Oh my God. Didn't they just go over that for the Japan Olympics?
Yeah.
Shikari just got hemmed up. She had to sit down for 30 days, and then that other girl goes and does that infomercial.
It's like a
about
CBD
that.
ad. It's like it's the same plant, just you criminalize one part of it that the black people enjoy. Okay, but yeah, it's a lot of that. It's a whole lot of that. A lot of points that you hit on.
What was the ad about again, please? Can you explain the ad, please?
It was celebrating like the use of like CBD in terms of like healing and things like that, and what it brings to the table of Olympics, as if CBD doesn't come from the same plant. Like it's really ridiculous. Like the way it's criminalized and the way it's still racist. The way a lot of what he's talking about of Dom of the vertical integration of them trying to price out. They're trying to price out black people. They're trying to make sure only the ultra wealthy can profit off of it, and it's not Schedule 1 because they want to make sure that the poor and the brown and the black can still be jailed for it. So as long as it's still Schedule 1, and you leave it up to the states like Georgia and states like Florida won't have half the states basically can still lock people in jail for it, while at the same time, if you have a medical license, if you have millions and millions of dollars to have an infrastructure of growers and networkers and all that, it's even worse in Florida than it is in Maryland in terms of how they price out. It's only like 3 companies or 4 or some shit that do weed in Florida. Like, so it's like a monopoly, and like I said, that's why there's like no damn concentrates in the whole state when like Truly Remove runs out. So it's terrible, and they want to make sure that black people can't profit off of it while still jailing people. It costs an insane. I followed this very closely in the Florida House. It costs an insane amount of money to keep your medical card in Florida. Not only do you have to pay for it and renew it yearly, you have to pay to renew it every 3 months. And it's like $150, like every 3 months, just to keep your card. That's crazy. And the Democrats in the state struck to waive that because they're effectively arguing that's just a weed tax. You're just taxing patients.
Yeah, like
there's no point to that fee. It's like, what is this fee for? We're not paying just to keep the card. Like, bitch, I paid like 3 months ago to keep the card. Like, I don't understand.
So it's literally a get out of jail free
card. Yeah, you're paying
tax.
Yeah.
You're paying for this card that you got to keep drawing. Okay, so I get it. So what would stop somebody from, say, going in, getting that card? Unfortunately, it's a tax they got to pay every 3 months, apparently. But they don't ever buy anything out of a shop. They just maybe once, just so they have a bag with their name on it, and then they just buy all their shit on the street.
You wasted your money.
No, you ever get out of jail free?
Like tagged to you. Yeah, so if they've been people jailed in Florida for having their medical card and having some weed or something, but they didn't have the receipt and their dispense label on the weed. So to prove that they got that weed from a dispensary, so they still went to jail for it. That's how petty the system is. And then they also have these arbitrary allotments. So basically the Republicans in the state of Florida, and this goes back to an issue you were talking about earlier, and it goes back to the fact that the people making weed laws know nothing about weed. They know nothing about marijuana. The people making the laws. There was a bill that every dispensary sent out letters to every patient down here, maybe like a few months ago, because the Florida Republicans wanted to implement THC caps that capped off weed at 10% THC. And every weed person, grower, person in the industry, person who's ever smoked weed, tried to explain to them that like there's regular ass weed that grows out the ground stronger than that.
Yeah, it will.
So it's just like that's
Jesus.
How like so you're effectively going to ban weed in Florida because most weed is stronger than 10%.
Exactly.
And then they say concentrates could only be at like 40% or something. It's like, well, that's not a concentrate.
So you might as well have a seat.
So that was the laws that they tried to
80% off rip.
So they tried to implement those laws against every doctor feedback, against everything. And even Ron DeSantis, the jackass governor we have down here, is smart enough to know that he's up for re-election, and it's over 500,000 medical patients here in Florida. So he's just like, no, I'm not going to do that and just piss off all these people who are already giving us a bunch of money to keep their cards.
For free money. Here you go.
But those are just the type of bullshit we're talking about in marijuana laws, where it's like, yes, it's come a long way, but it's not come far enough. And especially for Joe Biden to run on that, legalizing and decriminalizing and running on marijuana justice, and then completely just, like most of his agenda, just abandoning it and be like, oh, my bad, dog. I don't have time for this. Like, That's a very, very crucial. As you said, just taking it out of Schedule 1, not only is that like a business, we're talking about the economics of it, but that's a
Mhm.
justice issue. That's a racism issue. That's like, we get jailed for that disproportionately. White kids smoke too. White people smoke and buy weed, as we're seeing now, as they're profiting off of it. Like, it ain't just black people, but we are the ones lining the jails for it. It ain't Tanner and Connor getting pulled over and getting locked the fuck up for it. It's
And
just not.
usually they're the ones growing it. They're
Yeah.
usually the plug, or
They're
they know the
slinging it to
plug.
their
They're way
friends on
closer to the
campus.
plug.
Like, that's what it is. So it's a justice issue, and it goes back to, like I said, a lot of the points you said. The way they're trying to strategically, through laws, price people out of it. The way they have people who have never smoked a joint in their life trying to make marijuana laws for patients who direly need it, and they're just like, oh, I don't know, maybe 10%. Literally, people are just like, how did you come up with that number? It's like, I don't. It just sounded like a good number. You don't know shit. Like, you're about to ruin people's lives. You're about to ruin people's lives because you think 10% sounds like a good number because you don't know anything about THC. So it's like, you didn't consult a doctor, you didn't consult a medical professional. You're just a
You didn't
jackass
consult a
politician who's trying to make a
patient.
name for yourself.
You didn't
And that's,
consult the people that it's affecting, bro.
no, didn't give a fuck. Like, to the point where the dispensaries were, all of them were worried. Like, hey, they're about to effectively just ban weed because we can't make everything at 10% or lower.
You can't. They
So,
got like 2 strains.
yeah, like, that's just the end of the medical system. And the fact that that almost happened is ridiculous when the system is already generating this much money for Florida. It's already a racket. Like I said, it's already a tax to keep you out of jail, literal get out of jail free card to keep you out of the black market and to keep people who can't afford that in the black market so they keep locking their asses up. It's crazy. It's contradictory. It's bullshit. And the fact that it's not off the Schedule 1 list is absurd because it's less harmful than drinking a beer, which they have Bud Light commercials and shit every night. So it's crazy.
Yeah, and I don't, because of its status, I don't think really any dispensaries or anybody can really do a lot of advertising. Like, I can't put a billboard up. I can't put a sign up and say, hey, Joe is over here. Even if it was 3 feet away. Like, if it's not directly attached to the property or on our property line, which we're in a little strip, so it can't be by definition, we can't have any advertising anywhere outside of there's this one magazine in Maryland, the Maryland Leaf. And people have been going ham from other states just doing whatever promo they wanted in there. So it's not even just advertised to Maryland people. And I guess maybe that's smart for the newspaper themselves. They'll always have somebody that's looking for space somewhere if they reach out farther than Maryland. But that means anyone with a website really that can ship anywhere can have a slot right there, and it's gonna promote to every dispensary wants that newsletter because they get it for free. You know, it's basically the current news of Maryland, like the Maryland the status, medical cannabis status, between that and the Reddit page. And that's a really powerful tool. What is it, Maryland Ents? Just going in there and perusing, looking around and seeing what people are saying. This one's good, this one's bad. It's really good for like strains that maybe you were going to think about it, maybe it's new. I would wait until someone else tried it if it's from certain producers, and then wait to see if somebody else tried it before I would get it. And hey, that's invaluable information. But some states don't even have that. I'm not sure if Florida is allowed to have that.
I don't think so. Like I said, there's very few advertisements you see. Like I said, there are dispensaries everywhere, but you gotta look for them. You know, like they're not out here advertising big. They're cut away in little cuts because I know, like you said, there's zoning and certain permits. They have to be certain distance away from schools and things like that.
Other things.
Yeah. So like I'm hip to that. But just another issue I want to make that like I don't want to keep harping on, but it's such an easy political layup. It's just like, even if Joe Biden didn't believe in legalizing weed, do you know how popular that would be? You know, like the political goodwill, like you would be president, you would be like one of the most celebrated presidents in modern history for something that doesn't require any votes. You could just swipe of a pen. It's like you would win the next election based off of that alone. And it's just like the level of corruption to not do that, because that is literally what you call a political layup. It's just like, oh, how are we going to beat these Republicans? How about do something super duper popular that everyone's going to like that requires no votes or zero work? You just swipe that pen, say it's off the Schedule 1 list, and be a hero. Be a weed hero.
you're just by signing your name there, you're literally pulling dollars out of prison owners' hands. You're like, oh, we gotta let our inventory go wild free. That's like you owning a cow farm and they said, hey, cows get their own rights now, so you gotta let all your cows go. And they're just like, yeah, okay,
more
I
fake.
guess we gotta change our business model a little bit. No more penning the cows.
Right. No more Ruth Chris Steakhouse. What were you about to say, CJ?
I guess.
No, I'm just baffled that it's just like it's such a layup, and you got to think of the level of corruption that it takes to pretend that they don't realize that. It's like you know how you can win the next elections, right? Like you could do something that like even a majority of Republicans believe in legalizing marijuana now. Like even they aren't even,
because they see the money, and that's what you will get the Republicans on your side if you show them the money. So they're starting to see it. So I expect a few more. I mean, as soon as I saw Virginia skip the gap between illegal outright
this went all the way,
and then recreational now. When you see a state like Virginia do something like that, you know there's going to be a few more cards that are flip. There's going to be a few more cards that flip.
It's inevitable.
That's crazy.
Inevitable.
But they saw the money, and it's legalized and it's recreational, but even in Virginia, guess who's getting first dibs on these licenses? Guess who's getting first dibs on these locations? Guess who's getting first dibs on starting their grows?
Well, that's why it's happening so slow. They got to do it in a way that phases us out. So it's like it's safe as long as they keep the niggas out of the business. You know what I'm saying? As long as they could still lock us up and make money for it. That's why it's not off the Schedule 1 list. Like this is crime bill Joe Biden. Like he ain't changed. He's the same dude. Like he's got interest. So
let me ask you this, CJ. If you had to give an guesstimate, how many years until weed is legalized?
If it keeps going state by state, it might take another decade or so. It's going to happen. Like I said, it's going to slowly but surely. It's, you know what I'm saying, state by state, it's going to go, but it's still going to be an issue if it's on Schedule 1 because it's still going to be federally illegal, and that's going to cause so many problems. They're not going to be able to study it, test it. There's going to be so many limitations on. It's going to be overlapping and contradictory laws with federal law and state law. So you're still not going to be able to you're still going to be drug tested for your job, and all this other stuff could lose, it's still going to be too many issues. It just needs to come off Schedule 1. So it needs to be a president that is not corrupt, which we seem to can't get.
Good luck.
Like, that's what it's going to take. It's an executive order thing. He can just sign it off of the Schedule 1 list. It's not anything that requires Senate votes or maneuvering or anything like that. That's why it's one of the most egregious things to remain illegal, because it's such a fixable problem. It's not like, well, how are we going to make it legal? Like sign the paper, swipe the pin, dog. That's it.
All it would take. It'd be super easy. A lot less people to arrest, give some cops some free times. Maybe they have more time to eat more donuts. I don't know.
It would save people's lives. The people would be
literally saving people.
Yeah.
Even, oh man, aside from the police brutality and whatnot, just literally, just bringing it back to home that it still has medical properties. Like it's legit helping people survive, make their way through life. Like they're already in shitty situations, shitty medical situations, shitty interpersonal situations. And you have this one thing that is the perfect solution to their problems, if not in terms of just temporary relief, just helping them be on a mindset that gets them to that next level, whatever that next level needs to be, even if it's baby steps, if it needs to be a large jump. It helps them get them there. It's next to psychedelics like shrooms and stuff. That is hands down, THC is the most effective thing.
And incredibly safe. No overdose threat. No
overdose threat. None. Nate, show me the person who's died. I'm still waiting.
So there's no excuse with this bullshit of like it's safe. It's super duper safe. Like people, if you could overdose on weed, I'd have done it. You'd have done it. Every heavyweight bad smoker would have done it. People have tried. Like
I try every time to overdose.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I try every time, and it's not working. I promise.
All right, guys. The space race. Why is rich? Well, not even rich, wealthy people in such a rush to get to outer space?
I did a short video on this, but basically it's a dick measuring contest. That's all it is. There have been astronauts
Because
that
they're not
have come
really
out and
going into
explained this.
space.
Yeah, because like it's an excuse to distract that they're not doing shit to save the planet that's being destroyed right here and right now. Because do you know how much it costs, how much technology and how expensive it is just to send people up there and get them back alive in outer space? Like outer space is just like an extreme death trap. So it's just a flex to go up there for a vacation. Like that is not anything that is like super practical. And even I even heard a mainstream newscaster roast someone for this, where they were talking about what about the commercial implications? Like no, and like the economy is collapsing after COVID. There are people about to get evicted all through the country tonight. And you're talking about $12 million a flight. Who the fuck can afford that? Who can afford that? Like who is this market for?
I wonder.
Half the country's poor. Half the country makes under $30,000 or less. Like who is this market that you think is going to be lining up to fly to Mars for 2 hours or something for $24 million or something? Like that market doesn't exist. That us trying to colonize a planet would only be for people of Jeff Bezos's, financial status. Like that ain't for us. They're letting this planet burn so they can be rich enough to go fuck off in space and do whatever they want. Like that's all this is. This isn't about anything productive other than billionaires trying to measure their dicks and trying to figure out like, oh, who can go to space first, Bezos or Branson or Elon Musk? Like they're all douchebags for not paying their taxes and their fair share and letting society go to shit, or to exploit their workers to even accumulate $1 billion. Like people don't fathom how much money $1 billion is. Like if you can't spend it in a lifetime, you might want to redistribute it and do something with it. Maybe helpful. Maybe in world hunger, you could house like half or all of the country. You could do a lot of things with the amount of billions that Jeff Bezos and people like that have. So are you going to tell him what to do with his money? Yes, if his money has been exploited and literally taken out the pockets of people who work for it that aren't him, then yes, fuck him. Like he doesn't deserve to have more money than he can spend in a lifetime to go dick around and pretend to be Lex Luthor or fly Gundam into space or some shit. I don't care. Pay your workers a fair share, pay some taxes.
Literally.
And that's all we care about.
Wouldn't even have to come out of current revenue. You could use the money you already have. You already have it, and it would not even matter to you to do it.
Yeah, that's the preface. He could do all that good and still be extremely rich.
Exactly. That's what really blows me about the hyper rich. And they'll do their charities, but we all know that's tax write-offs. It's more about
and they don't even hurt.
Bruh.
Go ahead, my bad.
Even the art shows, and you know what? That's a recent realization. Art shows are just some rich guy going over and funding their friend for being a good artist and then writing it off as a tax, whatever. Dude, when I realized that, I was like, that's why these paintings are millions and gajillions of dollars, because they know they can write off millions and gajillions of dollars at the end of the year. That is wild. That is a painting. That is wild to think about.
Charity is a lot cheaper than paying your taxes. So that's why they're so charitable, because like that's just a fraction of what they do if they had to pay a fair share without all the tax. So if they didn't have 7 bank accounts in the Cayman Islands or some shit, or they had to do a bunch of shady shit with 16 lawyers to hide some account or to do some shit, like it's awful. Like it's fucking terrible. Like this situation, and the pandemic really exposed it. As everyone lost their wealth, they lost their jobs, they lost their livelihoods, their their freedom to go outside, hang out with people. Billionaires got insanely richer. They got way rich, like double, triple their wealth. People like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, they are doing better than they've ever done, while the rest of the country is doing worse than it's ever done. While people are evicted, losing their jobs, unemployment's higher as it's been since like the Great Depression levels. Yeah. What does it tell you that these people are doing better than they've ever done? It's their direct incentive that keep the rest of us poor, to keep them richer. Like this is just wealth inequality at its extreme. This is capitalism at its extreme, where they're like, we can't afford healthcare, but Jeff Bezos is going to go to the moon for shits and giggles. Like that's a severely broken society that we're living in right now.
Yeah. My fear with their ability to go to space is kind of related to the vaccine, where you had a bunch of celebrities being the first to try to do it, to try to coax everyone else into being saying, hey, this is cool. We're all hip. We're all vaccinated. We're all good, right? There inevitably is going to be a point in time where we're going to have to go into space for some reason. And my fear is that they already know exactly when and why that's about to happen. So you got a couple people like, hey, if you hit this level in society, you get to be on the escape pod and you get to test it out before it even works. Well, I mean, before everyone else gets to lay their grimy eyes on it, you get first dibs. Let's go. Let's see if you pass the test. That space test. Because the thing is, they're not going into like space. They're not like going past the moon, which relative to the rest of space is you barely dipped your toe in the water at the beach. So like when they start talking about going into space, like, hey, we're going to go to Jupiter and back real quick. Like I'll be back in a week from Jupiter. That's when I'll be a little bit more impressed. But you guys doing a spacewalk real quick in 2020 when people have been in space since the 60s and I got an iPhone, I can get an iPhone now. Not impressive. Y'all are just throwing your money around for no good reason. And it's like CJ said, it's really just embarrassing. It's a gross misuse of the funds at the time because we're all aware that we can do things in space. We have people in space right now doing the tests relative to the things we need to be learning to get even better at it. Sending rich people up does nothing. What's it do?
Amen.
What's it helping? What could they be doing on the ground otherwise that's actually beneficial? Where could that money be going otherwise that would be more beneficial while you're on the ground? Whatever, dude.
Jeff Bezos directly said, like, I want to thank the workers of Amazon because they really pay for this. Like, yes, with their labor and their poverty wages, bro. Like, why don't you give them a raise or some like benefits? Like, what are you doing? The fact that you admitted that is so gross that you're so tone deaf. It's like, hey, thanks for letting me exploit you so I can fly to the moon for fun. Like, bro, these people are like shitting in bags and peeing in bottles to make it to getting grinded by your goddamn company, bro. Like,
just so that they don't get replaced by the goddamn Amazon robots. And you know Flippy's coming, so all these I want $16 an hour workers at McDonald's and Wendy's are about to get replaced by Flippy, which costs $27,000, which is just shy of $15 an hour at 40 hours a week.
Yep.
Just for you math folks out there, that is a decent wage anywhere but Maryland. But when I know I can buy a machine that won't complain, it will always be on work on time, will always make the thing exactly the way I need it every single time, even faster and with no breaks. Well, I think there was a story about that. Wasn't there a guy who built a railroad versus the railroad making machine? Did that guy lose? I think that guy lost.
I don't know, man, but it's definitely going in that direction. Like I said, that's why there needs to be some sort of universal basic income. Like the pandemic has changed things and it's exposed like all the flaws specifically for America. Like every country got hit hard. Every country had issues with the pandemic health-wise, obviously. But like in terms of us being the only country with a for-profit healthcare system, the only country with like just such a individualistic mindset of like, it's all about me. I don't care, like the whole mask thing, how that became so politicized, just wearing a mask, or the vaccine has become politicized, just getting the vaccine, whether people want to do it, whether, just of how politicized it be. Even someone like Dr. Fauci has become like a political figure now, and it's weird. Yeah. And it's just exposed so many things about how our economy doesn't work and what we can do now with the internet now. Like we don't need all these people on the road going to offices to do these menial jobs. Like we have enough money where we could do some sort of universal basic income. We could have Medicare for all. It's not like we can't afford these things. We're just burning money at a military budget, looking for someone to bomb and to fight. Just like, hey, Iran, you want some smoke? What about Korea? Hey, anybody who's trying, like looking for shadow wars to fight to keep our economy afloat, because that's where so much of it is allocated. But if we cut our defense budget in half, we would still have a bigger military than pretty much everyone else combined, like the next 10 countries combined, including our allies. So those aren't even all enemies. Like that's how grotesque and just bloated. And they just keep giving the military budget raises. Like, who are we fighting? We need to get out of Afghanistan. Like, why are we putting more money into it? More money for jets, bombs, things to kill people, mostly brown people. Let's keep it real. Like these are just, that's what it is. Like, so how about we take some money from that? maybe defund the police a little bit. It's a whole nother conversation. Some other things that are just grotesque to budgets, and just, maybe reimagine things that would help society more in a collective way. If you want to call it socialism, it's become politicized, whatever you want to call it. But how about our tax dollars just go to shit that is that people would agree is important? Like, what if we just vote on what we want our tax dollars to go through? Because I know I wouldn't want 90% of it to go into bombing some Palestinian kids and turning them into skeletons, or basically
but
bailing out some rich asshole.
Question. That's not how they phrase the question. They don't let it get to be that specific, because that's when people's morality comes into play. They phrase the question as, do you want your country to be protected? This is what the dollar amount cost is. And they show you this big number, and then they show you what could happen to you if you don't pay this big number, because this is what we're doing to make sure that we don't have to do this on home turf. Look at what happens and know that this doesn't happen on home turf, and make sure you keep our budget up.
Meanwhile, on home turf, we have like school shootings like every day. We police brutality. When people get murdered in the streets by cops getting their ass beat. Like home front,
crazy infighting.
Let's focus on the home front then, instead of bringing the fight to other people. Let's fix shit here.
On defunding the police, what does that actually look like? Defunding the police.
It's a million different ways that people, because that's such a broad term. That's what became mixed up in the phrasing of defund the police, because you could get 5 different definitions from 5 different activists who had different levels of what they wanted in defunding the police. So it kind of got mixed up in that. But at its core, defunding the police is just a reallocation of resources. It's less money into police for, basically punishing violent crime, because they not often prevent violent crime. Police show up usually after the fact, fuck someone up, arrest them, investigate, do shit like that. So defunding the police is putting more money into preventive measures like education. How about better schools? How about funding community with has more activities for the kids to do rather than be on the streets? How about some more economic opportunities? I learned just from firsthand working in DC, even if you go to Ward 8 and places like that in the hood, if you give kids like a job where they can make like $15 an hour or something, they'll show up to work on time and they'll fucking work. Even the most gangster hood kids, if you give kids an actually opportunity where you can do something that is fun and gives them some economic dignity rather than selling drugs on the streets, rather than doing crime or whatever, they'll take it. Niggas don't want to be in the streets. It's not a glamorous thing to be doing crime and selling drugs and risking your life every day. People are doing that for bread. It's a lack of material resources in the hood, and people are trying to get that bag. They want to have money. That's what the main thing. Economics. Most of crime can be solved by eliminating poverty if you focus on that. So if you should focus on the preventive measures of that. Let's eliminate all the poverty so people aren't trying to sell drugs by. So people aren't joining gangs to feel like they have to survive. How about those neighborhoods, making them safer, giving them activities, giving them better schools and resources, and not just police to punish them for when those things go south. So they're putting all the money into just, okay, these communities are going to be fucked up anyway, so let's make sure we have the police to be able to punish them and throw the people in jail after they fuck shit up. Well, how about let's reimagine it so the community's not fucked up in the first place? Like, let's fix it from the ground up. And that costs money, and that's not just militarizing your police and giving them more guns and more police officers. If a lot of the police officers are corrupt, not all, but if too many are, if it's too many rotten apples, just hiring more of them without fundamentally changing what their mission is not going to solve anything. You're not solving anything by just adding more police and throwing more police dollars at it. If you're not going to rethink what the police's job is, don't send them to nonviolent crimes. Don't send them to enforce jaywalking and low-level traffic shit so they can be people pulled over and shot over a speeding ticket, or something like Philando Castile or something like that can happen. How about we focus the resources more on dangerous and violent crime rather than protecting property and generating revenue and locking people up for like dime bags of weed and shit? There needs to be a real rethinking of what police are. I'm not saying eliminate all police, but the way the policing is done now, a lot of communities feel like police are terrorists in their community. Like they feel terrorized by the police. They don't see the police and be like, oh, I feel good to see a police officer pulling up behind me. Most people, it scares the shit out of them in a lot of communities. A lot of people's solution to be like, well, what you need to do is give them more money for better training. Would you say that to Al Qaeda if they were terrorizing your community and be like, well, Al Qaeda is terrorizing us, but we just got to give them some money for better training, and then maybe Al Qaeda will do a little better? That sounds ridiculous, and that's what people hear when they hear about people trying to use that argument as like, well, you got to give the police more money for better training and to hire people. Well, if they're not changing their hiring practices, I don't want them hiring more people.
Yeah, they don't need to hire
like,
more people at all.
yeah,
Not right
so
now.
that's my take on defund the police, honestly, of what it should look like. But different activists will have different levels of extreme. Some people want to abolish the police altogether.
Yeah.
People think all cops are bad. There's different levels to it. I'm more of like strategic reallocation of resources. Police's job needs to be reimagined, like from the ground up. New training, new job description, certain shit you're just not going to do anymore. There will be less, aggression, less militarization. It's less responding to property crimes. Like, okay, like no one needs to die over a traffic ticket or property or a speeding ticket or something like that. It just needs to be people. What we lack
Too
more than
detrimental.
anything, and we lack a lot in American politics. We lack, decency and intelligence, and it's a lot. But what they lack the most is imagination. There's no imagination. People are just stuck in that the world is what it is, and it's going to suck, and it's going to be like this forever. And no one can even, at this point in DC, even imagine what a better world would even look like or how to do it.
All right, so our unlicensed co-host, as we usually have, Dre in the chat says, I think Nova mentioned John Henry versus the Railroad Machine.
There it
And
is.
he also says, more infrastructure for civilians and less petty crackdowns. People are already biased and programmed to believe that the current system of policing is necessary and works properly. That's the problem.
That's a hell of a problem. Yeah, and that's that Fox News propaganda of like that some people get. Like I work as a home health aide, and there's like different families I work with, and then some of them like these older Caucasian families. It's Fox News blasting all day, and that's all. If that's all you're consuming, and you think that that's legitimate news, like they're gonna get a lot of that. It's a lot of people that just aren't informed enough, honestly. And a lot of people aren't plugged into politics like that. Like most people in America are super casual into politics. They're not looking into individual races and specifics in the policy and how, the political strategies and races like that. So, you just get what you consume. That's where I think the media divide comes in. It depends on what you're consuming. You're going to get vastly different narratives from Fox News or MSNBC or new media, which is, I feel, a lot better now. A lot of younger, people coming up on YouTube, commentators. A lot of people even like stuff like Joe Rogan, even though he's not like really news, but like he'll have news people on and like have some informed conversations about stuff. So yeah, like it's a new era where it's really this weird divide in media, and everyone's in these super, super, very specific bubbles with these algorithms now and all the social media sites. It's like if you're on the left, you only see left content. If you're on the right, basically everything on your feed is going to be like far right. It's further polarizing the country. When I feel like as polarized as the country is, we have a lot more in common between the left and the right. And this is someone who perpetually dunks on Republicans and someone who perpetually hates all but like 5 elected Democrats. So like, I'm not a fan of a lot of people, but at the same time, like not every Trump voter was a racist. You know what I'm saying? Some of them just weren't into politics and they just saw something from face value and they made a mistake.
One of my coworkers, he was vehemently telling us that he was a Trump supporter, but he was like African or something. So I don't want to be racist, but I have a question. I have a question. So let's say hypothetically a presidential candidate, he has 3 platforms: free healthcare, legalizing weed, defund the police. How far?
That's a hippie, and he would never be able to step foot in any state, anything, any federal, anything. He's not making it. And they're not going to take him seriously, even if he wore a suit.
Yeah, it's kind of on that. Like if they actually had a shot, and if like the Democratic Party like would embrace that person, obviously the Republicans wouldn't. But like if one of the major 2 parties would embrace that candidate, they would win by a landslide and be super easy. But the issue is they would try to tank them in the primary. They would be smeared. Every network would be talking about how they're a communist or how they're fucking gonna destroy the country. They basically did it with Bernie Sanders, where they just demonized this man 24/7. Every media, they blacked him out on media. Everything you heard was like, he's a fucking socialist, communist, radical, extremist,
lunatic.
fucking crazy, and he's just an old guy from Vermont with some like centrist ass policies that regarding if he was in Europe, Bernie Sanders would be like a centrist, like not even like extreme in the slightest, just like, oh, he's just a normal ass politician. But over here, it's like they paint this man as like the devil when he's just like some old harmless guy from Vermont. So like it's what he said. Like if someone is running on that platform, both parties would spend every penny they have to destroy that person to make sure that they wouldn't have an opportunity to be president. And the only reason Donald Trump outside of the establishment was was able to make it to where he was because Donald Trump is one of those donors anyway. So it's like he's going to play ball, and he did for 4 years. He sucked the nuts of the establishment for 4 years. Like that's so if they feel like someone is going to upset that status quo, they won't let them anywhere near the White House. They literally tanked Bernie's campaign twice to make sure that this man was nowhere near the White House, even though he had the best, most organic following. He had the most small dollar donations. When he was in the lead, instead of embracing him, like he was in the lead, he was fixing to whip the shit out of Joe Biden. And then the whole party started a campaign of Stop Bernie campaign. Like the Democrats, not the Republicans. The Democrats are like, hold the fuck up. Wait a minute. You can't be giving people health care. You're doing too much. So they spent all their resources. They had Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar, all of them drop out the same day, endorse Biden, had Obama making calls behind the scenes. They cutting deals to make sure that Bernie wasn't going to be the guy. Like they work harder to defeat progressives in their own party than they do to defeat Republicans. Like when it comes to Republicans, they're the Democrats become the Washington Generals and just get dunked on by and make the Republicans look like the goddamn Globetrotters, even though they're idiots and they have no ideas. They're over here talking about like critical race theory. Don't teach it to third graders. Like, what are you talking about, bro? Like people need jobs. Like, and then and the Democrats are losing to these people perpetually. So it's terrible. That's what he said. If there really was a solid candidate like that, I don't even know if they would have a chance in the two-party system. It's so corrupt. And both parties, we're watching WWE at this point. We're watching the Democrats and Republicans bicker over stupid shit, but behind closed doors, they agree upon just about everything because they have the same donors. They're owned by the same moneyed interests. The same people bought both of them because when you're that rich, you hedge your bets. You buy the Democrats and Republicans. So no matter who wins the race, you always win, baby. That's how the rich play the game. That's how the big money donors play. So it's like, it's hopeless at this point because we have no campaign finance laws. Like bribery is legal in American politics. If you have money, you could just openly just pay and buy a politician to cover your interests. Like ExxonMobil's done for years to burn the planet. Like all these big pharma and all these police unions have done to keep marijuana legal and prisons, private prisons, and this is where we're at. Like I said, this is Avengers Endgame. This ain't Infinity War. Not fighting for any, like the bad guys won. Now we got to figure out how to take it back because people are misconstrued about what phase we are in this battle against the elites, and they're up a lot. So like it's time for a drastic comeback, or things aren't looking good. Like I said, the literal planet is burning. Like the ocean was on fire last week, like from an oil spill. Like there's this crazy climate change disasters happening every day. There's going to be wars over water soon. There are going to be parts of the country and especially like the Middle East and places like that are too hot to live in anymore. So think about that migrant crisis. You talk about migrants, you don't want immigrants. How about when the whole fucking Middle East is uninhabitable because it's too hot? Then what? Then what kind of chaos are we going to be happening? So like the world's in for some stuff. That's where we're at.
Jeez. That was so optimistic, CJ. That was, we're all great. Well, you did say politics are very depressing. We have no future. Burn your Bible.
Man, there's probably a way to have a future. Like I said, I haven't given up all hope, like I said, but under the systems we have now, we need to be in a hurry to tear down these old traditional establishments like the two-party system. And definitely. Some of the institutions, because like I said, there's going to be the way our government is set up right now and with capitalism, there literally can be no progress. Like nothing can get done. Look at our government right now. People are about to be evicted at midnight today just because they're just like, well, fuck it. We just can't do anything. The Democrats have the House, the Senate, and the White House. And their excuse is we can't do shit because of procedural stuff.
Well, I would argue that capitalism has just lost its luster. It's lost its progressive nature because we've all hit a point where we could be self-sufficient almost entirely now. So in my head, I'm thinking capitalism was a great tool for determining, oh, okay, person A is better than person B at doing this one thing. And capitalism will show it because the dollars will go to the corporation that's doing the best job, or people think they're doing the best job. And they're the ones who will get the funding. They're the ones who will start getting their research, and they'll just keep learning how to do whatever it is they're doing better. Great, capitalism works. Now we're getting to a point where your Android phone is just as good as your iPhone. We're getting to a point where all your cars are so fucking fast, there's no point in them being as fast as they are. You have a computer controlling and regulating your driving as you're driving it. It's not really you driving it. It's your car saving your dumb ass because you really don't know how to drive this amazing machine that has been created. Like, we're starting to lose a grasp on, like, this tool is being used as it's at its perfect potential because it's within the capacity of a human's usage. We're losing that now. Things we're making are better than what we could ever really use them at, the maximum potential we could use them at. So once that starts happening and you start realizing that, oh yeah, we really could probably have a self-sustaining society at this point if we weren't all fucking assholes. Now you gotta start looking at people as what they are, as a bunch of assholes. Why are you all being assholes to each other? What things have occurred? How can we clean this slate when it's so dirty? So dirty.
I think it goes to the point that capitalism can work when it's regulated and mixed with some sort of socialism. You know what I'm saying? Like there has to be a social safety net. There has to be some collectivism in your society that you give a fuck about society, where people pay into a common good. Like, I'm not saying capitalism doesn't have any upsides, but at the same time, like, when it's completely unregulated, like it is in America, and basically worshipped as a god and not just a concept, like there's a political party that basically worships capitalism, the Republican Party, where it's like they beat off to it, like that's their thing. So like they don't give a fuck about anything other than the markets.
They love money, but they won't legalize weed. It's crazy.
Well, because they're making money off of the criminalization of weed.
Private prisons make money too.
Yeah, they're making more money right now off of more people being in jail. I forgot the dollar amount they're making. I forgot the dollar amount. It was wild. And that's why they will nonchalantly put 30 years, 25 years on somebody, because it's like, okay, yeah, I'm not looking at that 25 years as time spent for a human going to jail. I'm looking at that as $3.6 million in my buddy's bank account. Thanks. Courtesy of the state. Non-refundable.
Yep.
All right. Is that everything for today's episode? This is the first episode of PuffcoPolitics, everybody. First episode. And as a mandate on PuffcoPolitics, we have to end with a dab. Everybody get a dab. You ready?
Right,
dab cam.
Hold up. I gotta grab one.
Dab cam's ready.
In the fridge.
Check this.
It's okay. That was a practice one.
No, that was a practice one. All right. I'll wait for Jizzle to come back.
Dude, seriously, this lemon sun cake, shout out to Grassroots. I think politically they're not on the best terms with the public right now, but their processors know what they're doing. And this was a really good batch of this lemon sun cake. Them, Evermore, and like, I don't even really want to shout out Colta, not really. MPX.
Hey, MPX.
MPX. Those are my boys right there. We need to get more stuff from them.
All right. What's everybody doing?
Hey, get everybody. Nice and roasty, nice and toasty.
Broke it out the freeze.
Yeah, we got the papaya cake, dry stiff frozen.
Hold on. Tell me the name again. I got to post it.
This is some papaya cake, dry sif rosin from Blue River Terps. Light over it.
South of Blue River Turk.
Let's see what it's looking like. I just got this today, so I haven't even touched this one. Ooh, I like that. Hold up.
Ooh.
Wow. Here we get a look at that.
Let us see. Let us see.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh. Dab cam. Dab cam. Ooh. Okay.
Smells great.
Papaya cake from Blue River Terps. Shout out to papaya cake from Blue River Terps.
Nice.
It's from True Leaf. They're like the Walmart of weed down here in Florida.
Oh, I didn't even get into the fact that Amazon's trying to get into weed. Didn't even bring that up.
Oh, that's good for next episode. Woo! Ooh.
All right, I'm about to do some crumble. We're gonna do gelato cake.
I have clementine in my cartridge right now.
Is that epic one?
It's I've had this for a brick. This is very old.
Close the door.
Oh, also, everybody, if you see we have Fire Squad merch available, contact me or somebody from Fire Squad Mafia. We will direct you at a way to get one. Thank you.
Hey,
that's the best I can do right now. Trying to wait for him to get back so we can do it together. All right.
All right.
Papaya cake from Blue River Terps.
And I'm moving on to Cherry Kim from District Cannabis.
Cherry Kim, District Cannabis. We are here for sponsors too, everybody.
All right. So let's say I ordered my Puffco bubble cap too. So that ball cap should be on its way next week. Can't wait to upgrade the look.
Oh, okay.
Let's see what this is hitting on. I gotta put a nice bit. I gotta show you guys what size, what level of dab we're gonna do here today.
Oh, that looks great.
Yeah, man, this has got to get legalized, man. It's crazy. This is still illegal in some places when you don't pay for your card, especially down here in Florida. It's so ridiculously expensive just to maintain this card. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, man.
All right, everybody ready?
Oh, hold on.
Oh, he's a whoa.
Now. Now I'm about to do a whole nother dab. No, I got another flavor over here I'm about to do. All right, we ready?
Yep.
Cheers.
Comes a dab train.
Cheers, episode 1.
Oh.
There we go. All right, everybody.
Today, folks.
Thank you for joining us on the first episode of PuffcoPolitics. I'm your host, LK, the God, the Deity, the Mogul, the Shogun, and the 01. I have been here with see Jizzle from Liberty Sizzle, aka Puffco Poppy. He's puffing on the papaya cakes from Blue River Turks. And Dab Daddy Don, he was doing Cherry Kim in District Cannabis. Thank you, everyone. Tell someone you love them. Gang.
Gang.